Hello, this is Matt Slick from the Matt Slick Live podcast, where I defend the Christian faith and lay out our foundations of the truth of God's Word. Your chosen Truth Network podcast is starting in just a few seconds. Enjoy it, share it, but most of all, thank you for listening and for choosing the Truth Podcast Network.
This is the Truth Network.
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We are glad that you're with us this week. And again, I know I say this a lot, but we're glad that you're with us every week. It makes our day knowing that somebody out there is willing to listen to us.
Both of you.
We can't find anybody at this table.
So, we love you, Mom.
So we're in the after hours. It's a little looser. Well, the other show's kind of loose too, but it's a little more loose, than the regular show. But anyway,
if you listen, they might have you on the show. If you listen.
That's true. If you're a listener, you might get on the show and you might get asked a question or two
that you're not prepared to answer.
Out of the blue, from out of left field.
Yeah, from out of left field, which was a topic that was a good topic. Yeah. But anyway, our topic this week is spiritual ear exam, right? Or spiritual hearing test, right? And so we can go a lot of different ways, and we have gone a lot of different ways with this topic because we kind of left it up to God to say, okay, God, what are you working on each one of us with this, right? And so we get to see where God decided to take us. Well, he decided to take Danny back up to where he lives instead of to the studio, but we still have a clip from Danny. And so Andy's going to set up the clip from Danny because it's one of your favorite clips. You like it.
Yeah, I do. I've had it played before, but it's an Andy Griffith clip. So being my name's Andy, I got elected to do Danny's clip for him. But it's the episode it's about Mr. McBeevy. And Mr. McBeevy is this, what Andy perceives as a fantasy type of character that Opie's dreamed up. Opie's told him about him, says he walks amongst the trees and wears a silver hat and has smoke coming out his ears, all this stuff. And Andy just doesn't believe him. And then this is the backside. Andy actually gets introduced to him. And it really has to do with, though, Andy, whether, in listening to Opie, whether he really believed him and just how that interaction went.
Andy?
No. I didn't spank him.
Oh, well, that's good. Just not necessary. He learned his lesson. Good talking to is the best thing, making him stay in his room.
I didn't do that either.
Well, what did you do?
I told him I believed him.
You told him you believed... But, Andy, what he told you is impossible.
Well, a whole lot of times I've asked him to believe things that to his mind must seem just as impossible.
Oh, but Andy, this silver hat and the jingling and the smoke from the ears, what about all that?
Oh, I don't know, Barn. I guess it's a time like this when you're asked to believe something that just don't seem possible. That's the moment that decides whether you got faith in somebody or not.
Yeah, but how can you explain it all?
I can't.
But you do believe in Mr. McBeevy?
No. I do believe in Opie. Mr. McBeevy.
Hello? Somebody call?
McBeevy at your service. What can I do for you, mister?
Walk around in the trees. Silver hat. You jingle and you can make smoke come out of your ears, can't you?
Uh-huh.
Mr. McBeevy, I can't tell you how glad I am to meet you. I certainly am.
I didn't catch the name.
Oh, I'm Andy Taylor, Opie's daddy.
Oh, are you?
Yes, sir. Oh, he's a fine boy.
So, Wayne, you had something you wanted to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes along with what I was talking about a little bit earlier while I was listening to that. Kind of reminded me of the guy that I was praying with. If you listened to the last show, if you didn't, go back and listen to the last show, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? So, but the guy that I was praying with, the reason why I was praying with him was he was telling me about a nightmare that he had about a month and a half ago about this dark entity that was in his house. And, one of the things we do as parents, right, our kids have these nightmares or dreams, and we tell them, I'll go back to bed, you're just having a nightmare. But I fully believe, because I've experienced and have seen a lot of different things, that God speaks to us through our dreams. He always has, and continues to do so. But because of that faith in believing what this man was saying, as I began praying for him and praying against the spirit that is in his home, because that was what God was showing him, was that there was something in his home that was terrorizing him and his son. As I began to pray for this man, again, there was an attack on me. With this needle in the back of my throat, this spirit trying to get me to stop praying. To most people, right, that sounds crazy, but it's real. It's real.
When I was listening to that, very similar thought is that I'm going to start adopting the term I had a McBeavy moment, right? Meaning a time that, if you would listen to how we all talk with each other about what God does in our life, or how you talk from the stage at a boot camp on what God's doing, if you don't have the ears to hear it, it can almost seem unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? What Robbie experiences in the morning with what God does with him is so incredibly cool, but if you don't know Robbie, you don't know his heart, you'd say, I don't know about that, or Rodney's story, or Jim's story, or whoever's story. That when God intercedes, we have to have this faith element. And that's what I loved about that clip, was that it reminds us that we have the McBeavy moments with God.
Yeah.
When others may not fully understand it, but they trust in it because A, it's God, and B, they know your heart. They can hear it from your excitement. Bob, I'm sure you've probably seen some of that at a boot camp as well, where, guys just kind of come alive with some of the stories that are shared from your stories.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have my own story about that, actually. I was at my first boot camp. I was sitting in the hot tub there at Eagles Wings Lodge, and I was looking out. I'm like, God, I'd love to have my own house, and someday I'll get my own hot tub. And it's kind of heard this chuckle, like, okay, yeah, sure. You'll get what you want there. And then next thing I know, well, where am I now? I'm in a house, and it came with a hot tub. So it's just like one of those things where I didn't believe. At that time, I didn't even have a new house yet, right? So we were looking for a house, and what do you know, God, I didn't believe God that I'd get a new house to begin with at that boot camp, and I met a realtor there that was able to get us a house. But God just kind of like made this mention that don't worry, I'll take care of it, and well, it's been taken care of. Now, disclaimer: I don't expect everyone that goes to a boot camp will come home with have a house with a hot tub.
So you're special is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think what the point of that whole story was to rub in the fact they have a hot tub
That's what I
at
heard.
their boot camp, and we don't.
Yeah.
I really think that's
you
what
hear
the
better
whole
than I do.
Yeah, I think that was the whole point, wasn't it, Bob?
I actually heard Charlie Brown. He got a hot tub. I got a rock, but at least I can stand on my rock. You can't stand.
I would point out that if you live in Ohio, you would deserve to have a hot tub.
Okay, all right. Probably coming to your defense, Bob. We'll let you talk now. We've been talking over you.
No, that was not the point of the story.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think it was, but I want you to get that part in there.
No, that's good stuff, though. We do that whole. Opie truly, received what he saw like a child. Obviously, it's what he really saw. But we've talked a lot. We've done shows on the whole fact that a lot of times we miss out hearing from God and experiencing God because we're so sophisticated. We don't come with this childlike wonder. I tell the story about whenever I go to Yosemite and the 3 gifts that God gave me. Every time I share that, I think the people think I'm stupid, just crazy stupid. But it was so real to me. And then whenever God showed me after the fact how they correlated with the trip that Dad had took me on, I was like, I can't argue with that. I'm going to tell that. Whether people receive it or not, I don't care. But I know that I, heard from God there. So
you went to Yosemite?
Quite a few times. It's my hot tub moment. Yosemite's just about as good.
A different twist on the same theme that I heard in that is that there are a lot of times when we are begging God to talk to us, and he doesn't. We don't hear from him when we really want to. And he's basically showing us that, we need to step out in faith on what we last heard, and that he doesn't want us to ask him, can I take this step now? Can I take that step now? He wants you to go in the direction he last sent you, and then he'll redirect you. But
thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Andy, you have a microphone in front of you. You want to set up your talk or your
my
clip?
Actual clip?
Your clip from Windtalkers.
Yep. Yeah, so this is from Windtalkers. When we were talking about this, I started thinking about how the enemy comes after our communication, or the enemy comes after the communication, and anytime there's a war going on. That's the first thing that they try to take out. Or intercept communication. In this case, the Windtalkers is about the Navajo Indians. They were called code talkers. They got involved in World War II when we were fighting the Japanese, and there was a lot of interception of communication. And the whole Navajo, there was a Navajo person on each end of the communication to do the translation. And it just, in this clip though, most of it won't be coherent. They'll either be talking Navajo, Japanese, you hear a little bit of English, a lot of bombs and stuff going on. This is what war sounds like a lot of times. But again, is what you're listening to. The message got through because the guys were listening on both ends and able to interpret.
Related coordinates! Arizona! Joking, go! And they showed me!
Okay, come, and they shot it.
Target reference, Dog 1, south 700, elevation 050.
Right, 200, up 50, fire for effect. Let's not. Set. Let's go!
So sorry about that clip, because it really was more of a visual clip, but you had to use your senses in listening to that, and what you heard was multiple coordinates for artillery being called in, and more specific to where you actually hit the target. But we live in a world where we're trying to hear all these voices, and you want to really hear what God has to say. And sometimes there's a spirit-to-spirit communication with God that actually kind of goes as the wind talker. You're praying in the spirit that you're talking to God, and he's talking to you, and it bypasses the enemy. That's just kind of what I saw in that clip.
Yeah, that's actually a really good movie. Yeah, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Back in World War II before I watched the movie. Yeah. And so how cool it was that, you have an enemy that can interpret, he can intercept what you're wanting to say. And so you find a way to go around that and still meet your objective.
Yep.
I believe in the full power of God. I'm not afraid of the enemy, but there are times that I choose not to pray out loud,
right?
Because I just don't want to tip my hat,
right?
My hand to Him, right? I don't need to. God can hear my thoughts. He can hear through my spirit, right? And so I choose to pray that way, just because there is an enemy that's active and wants to try to intercept and try to steal away.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Well, Harold, you have a clip, so we're going to go ahead and get to your clip. And so this is from somebody that's actually older than you that's in this movie, right?
Yeah, this is from the movie Oh God, and in this particular scene, George Burns playing the role of God is talking with John Denver, and one of the reasons that I liked it is because I think it goes two ways in communication, which always is the real way that communication occurs.
Hello? Where are you?
Turn around. Well, how do you like it? I'm going on a trip to spend a little time with animals. I like animals. And sometimes I don't spend enough time with them.
We failed, didn't we?
What are you talking? We did terrific. I gave a message of encouragement. You passed it along. Now we'll see. You did good. We both did good. We're covered.
You think anybody got the message?
You think we have enough apples in the world?
Apples?
We got all the apples we need. You're Johnny Appleseed. You drop a few seeds and you move on. If the seeds are good, they'll take root. I gave you great seeds, the best.
I lost my job, you know.
There are other cities, other supermarkets.
Everybody thinks I'm a nut.
Galileo, Pasteur, Einstein, Columbus. You're in good company. Hold on. Well, better be going.
Aren't you coming back?
No.
Ever?
Whenever comes, we'll see.
Sometimes, now and then, couldn't we just talk?
I'll tell you what. You talk, I'll listen.
Yeah, that's something that we really have to rely on, is the fact that God will listen when we talk. But the other side of the coin is that we have to listen when he talks. And we have to be careful to know that it is him that's been mentioned earlier. And one of the ways that I think we can know that is that we've got the written word. He's given us the written word, and he will not contradict that. So if you're hearing something that goes against what's in the Bible, it's not coming from God. It's coming from somewhere else. And while I got the mic, one of my favorite things to say is that we've got two ears and one mouth, and that's the way we need to use them. And I've got a little scripture here that kind of backs that up. Proverbs 18:13. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. So the point was made earlier about oftentimes we're not really listening. We're saying in our head, would you please shut up so I can talk? Mm-hmm. And we need to be listening to hear what the other person is trying to communicate to us, or we're going to be silly, like Proverbs says.
I did notice you were staring at me the whole time that you were talking about that. So
No, I looked at Jim as well.
Oh, so it's Jim and I. Okay, Harold. No, you guys are good. It's just Jim and I. No,
yeah, guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. Jim, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, well, you have a clip.
I do have a clip.
Talk about your clip, and then we'll come back and do Rodney's clip.
All righty. Biden's a great juxtaposition with Andy's. This is not war. This is comedy. And if you haven't heard this, it's about time, because this routine is even older, believe it or not, than I am and than Harold is. So, but it is perfect in describing what happens in interpersonal communication sometimes.
I'm not really sure it's older than me, to be quite honest.
It is. I'd looked it up.
Oh, okay.
About a month. All right, we'll go ahead and play it.
Strange may seem, they give ball players nowadays very peculiar names. Funny names? Nicknames, pet names. Not as funny as my name, Sebastian Dinwiddie. Oh, yes.
Funnier than that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Now, on the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second. I don't know who's on third.
You know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it. Why not? The man's entitled to it.
Who is?
Yes.
So who gets it?
Why shouldn't he? Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yes. After all, the man earns it.
Who does?
Absolutely.
Well, all I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
Oh, no. What is on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, don't change the players.
I'm not changing nobody.
Take it easy.
What's the guy's name on first base?
What's the guy's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about him.
How did I get on third base?
You mentioned his name.
If I mention a third baseman's name, who did I say is playing third?
No, who's playing first?
Stay off of first, will you?
Well, what do you want me to do?
Now, what's the guy's name on third base?
What's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third.
There I go, back on third again.
Well, I can't change their names.
Will you please stay on third base, Mr. Broadhurst?
Now, what is it you want to know?
What is the fella's name on third base?
What is the fella's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base.
You know, as many times as you hear that, you still got to laugh. It is it's genius. It really is the way that they do that.
And that's the way we talk sometimes. We're saying one thing, we're hearing in our head something, they hear something entirely different. And we don't recognize it because we're not really listening to the responses.
Yeah, and that's a good example where the enemy can get in the way. You know, they're both speaking truth, but neither one can hear each other. Right? They're both absolutely right in what they're doing, but they don't have the ears to hear one another. So, Rodney, I want to get to your clip before we're done with the show, and so you only have a minute to set it up. Do you think you could do that?
50 seconds.
Yeah. So this is from Despicable Me. I'm like spacing out because you got me all going someplace else. But basically, you've got a guy who has a heart change by adopting these girls, and he, in this clip, is to the point where he finally has this heart change. And this book that they always want him to read, he introduces a book that he has wrote. And it's this very, very sweet change in his heart towards these girls that have meant everything to him.
Okay, girls, time for bed.
Oh, come on, we want a story. 3 sleepy kittens.
Oh, no, sorry, that book was accidentally destroyed maliciously. Tonight, we are going to read a new book. This one is called One Big Unicorn. By who wrote this? Oh, me! I wrote it. Oh, look, it's a puppet book. Here, watch this. That's the horn.
This is gonna be the best book ever.
Not to pat myself on the back, but yes, it probably will be. Here we go. One big unicorn, strong and free, thought he was happy as he could be. Then 3 little kittens came around and turned his whole life upside down.
Hey, that one looks like me.
No, what are you talking about? These are kittens. Any relation to persons living or dead is completely coincidental. They made him laugh. Ho ho! They made him cry. He never should have said goodbye. And now he knows he could never part from those 3 little kittens that changed his heart.
Yeah, he has a heart change there from the 3 little kittens, as he puts it, the girls that he adopted. And where I got to all this was a roundabout way, because when you first talked last week, we're going to have a hearing exam instead of the eye exam. I'm like, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God is the first thing that jumped into my mind. And then it was back, what I hear all the time is what Andy was always, he was like Mr. Sun Talk, you know, he was on that sun ship, and it was like just for all the right things beat into me, from sonship, because that's where God had me and just had me really tuning into that. So that's what I always hear, is that I'm a son. So in a different study that I was doing this week, it just took me into Galatians 4 and 4 through 7, that when the fullness of time came, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law, so that he might redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption as sons, because you are sons. God also sent forth the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. Therefore you are no longer a slave, but a son. And if a son, then an heir through God. And that's where the whole adoption, and it just played with me this week, and I'm thinking, man, I've been adopted by the greatest father ever. And this clip is him receiving love from who he adopted, and I'm the opposite. I'm receiving love from the one who adopted me. And I just been bathing in that all week, and it's been wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bob, you've got about a minute left here. We'll get going. You want to tell us a little bit about your boot camp again coming up here in June, and then a little bit of how they can get information on it?
Yeah, so CentralOhioBootCamp.com is got one in June 9th through the 12th, and then there's one in September, an advanced, I think it was that 9th through 11th, and then we have one in October as well, another basic. So yeah, go to CentralOhioBootCamp.com and check it out.
Are you guys going to have jacuzzis?
We'll have a pond to jump in and a jacuzzi to get in as well.
Thank you, Bob. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you. We're looking forward to seeing you in September, and maybe we'll see some of you guys back in November. We got a boot camp coming up November 17th through 21st. Go to masculinejourney.org to register. If you have a topic you'd like for us to talk about, please send it to us through Facebook. You can reach us at Masculine Journey on Facebook, on Twitter, just about any one of the social media platforms we're on. You can look up Masculine Journey and reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear any comments, anything that you would, any clips you would recommend. And most of all, we'd love to see you at the next boot camp. Please go register.
This is the Truth Network.